Silent Hill 2 Remake is finally here, but with a $69.99 price tag. But the question is, should you play it or pass it up? Let's dive into the details before you spend your hard-earned cash. This game is a classic in the horror genre, but with all these updates, is it still a must-play? Today we're tracking the big questions. Is it better than the original? What's new and what's been changed? Is he the still stuff of nightmares? And many more things we will be talking about, like the soundtracks, the performance, and how the game runs on your system. There is a lot to cover, so let's get into it. First up, the gameplay. Silent Hill 2 Remake gameplay brings modern controls to the table. No more stiff, tanky movement like the old days. Now your character moves smoother, making exploration and combat a lot more manageable. But don't worry, the horror factor is still there. You'll be sweating every time you hear the eerie static sound. So yeah, the controls are a win. But is this a whole new game or just a fresh coat of paint? Let's check out how it compares to the original. Silent Hill 2 Remake versus Original. For those who have played the original, the remake stays true to the essence of the story, but adds modern visual and cinematic cutscenes. The iconic fog, even more immersive with updated effects. But what's really interesting is how they have tweaked the main character interactions, especially with Angela and Maria, adding more depth to their roles. So we got better depth and visuals and deeper character. But let's be real, how terrifying is the Pyramid Head this time around? The Pyramid Head, the big bad icon of Silent Hill, he's back in the remake, and let me tell you, he's still as scary as ever. His first appearance? Absolutely chills. Seeing him to the fog in 4K is something else. The tension he brings hasn't changed, and I'd argue improved graphic made him even more horrifying. Now you're probably wondering that how well this beast of a game runs, right? Let's break down the performance. Performance-wise, this game is a bit of a mixed bag. On PlayStation 5, it runs smoothly, but for the PC players, be sure you've got some specs to handle it. The Silent Hill Remake PC requirements are pretty steep if you are aiming for top-tier settings. If your PC is a little older, you might experience some shuddering. However, with the DLSS, you can keep the performance stable without sacrificing much of a visual quality. Now, the soundtrack is really important for a game. How well is it? Let's find it out. Akira Yamaoka's soundtrack was a huge part of the original game's success. And in the remake, it's back and better than ever. From the chilling theme of Laura to the haunting background sounds, the music sets the tone perfectly. It keeps you on the edge throughout the entire playthrough. Speaking of keeping you on the edge, you might be wondering that how this game's core mechanics have changed. Combat in the remake, it's more polished, but it's still not the game's main focus. The remake keeps it simple, and swinging around that plunk still feels just as desperate as it did back in 2001. If you're experiencing action-packed sequence, you won't find them here. It's all about survival, and that's what makes this game so nerve-wracking. But here's the question, what about the puzzles? Are they as mind-blending as before? Silent Hill 2 Remake is known for their psychological puzzles, and the remake doesn't shy away from that. They've kept the game's puzzles mostly the same, but with just a few added twists to keep returning players on their toes. Whether you're solving riddles or trying to figuring out the creepy environments, it's still as rewarding as before and frustrating as ever. Let's talk about the system. If you're on PlayStation 5, you're in the smoothest 60 FPS gameplay with ray tracing effect that makes the world even creepier. On PC, though, it really depends on your build. If you have got something like RTX 3080, you'll be fine, but the older GPUs might struggle to keep up with the game's demands. And hey, what about the players who have never played the original Silent Hill 2? If you're brand new to this series, this remake is a great entry point. You don't need to know the original to appreciate the dark story and intense atmosphere. However, longtime fans will get a deeper sense of nostalgia and fear. That said, the story remains timeless. It's dark, twisted, and definitely stick with you after the credit roll. When compared to the other remakes, Resident Evil 2 or Dead Space, Silent Hill 2 holds its own. The emphasis on psychological horror sets it apart. If you're more into fast-paced zombie shooters, this might be your cup of tea. But if you're here for tension, atmosphere, and slow-burn horror, this game actually delivers it. If you're into horror games, be sure to click on this top 5 horror games.